right, ladies and gentlemen, again, we're going to do problems 30 through 40. I'm going to make these quick announcements again. You need to turn in all late work by the end of the hour, all missing work. All tests and quizzes should be done already. You had ample opportunity to do that. We're going to go over 30 through 40. You should probably have an extra sheet of paper out and write down formulas and steps that you need to put on your formula sheet to use on the exam.
When do you have to have your cheat sheet done?
So your cheat sheet must be initialed by Ms. Kellerman or myself by the end of class on Tuesday. Okay. So we did 30, so we're on 31. 31, we've got negative square root of 64. What's the square root of 64? 8. And we know it's negative because it's got the negative in front of it, so that would be C. All right, let's look at 32. We've got 9x squared minus 16 equals 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is add 16 to both sides. And I get 9x squared equals 16. Divide everything by 9. And I have x squared equals 16 over 9. And then how do I get rid of an x squared? What do I do? What's the opposite of squaring it? It's to, what? Not divide. Square root, I heard somebody say. Okay, so x equals plus or minus 4 over 3. So which one has plus or minus 4 over 3? B. So the answer is B. Okay. Let's look at 33. 33 should be kind of familiar. We've got x squared equals 64. Again, how do I get rid of that x squared? What is that fancy thing that we do to get rid of the squares? Square root it. So now x equals 8 or negative 8. Plus or minus 8. So that would be A. Remember, if you don't have a square root sign already in your problem, when you square it, it could be positive or negative. Okay? I'm going through these pretty fast. You've got to stop me if you've got a question. Okay, let's look at 34. Oh, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, I have a suggestion for you. If you don't know your perfect squares, you might want to write them down. Okay, perfect square factors are 1, the square root of 1 is 1. 4 is a perfect square. 9 is a perfect square. 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100. You might want to have those on your sheet. 34, we've got the square root of 81 over 64. Remember, that's the same thing as the square root of 81 over the square root of 64. What's the square root of 81? What's the square root of 64? 9/8. And remember, that could be plus or minus, but it's not an option on ours. Okay, let's look at 35. We've got the square root of 70 times the square root of 4. Is 70 a perfect square? No. Is 4 a perfect square? Yes. So you get 2 square root 70. It's a good idea to put the 2 in front so you don't think it's underneath the square root sign. That's why we just move it to the front. Okay. All right, before I move on to graphing, does anybody have questions about square roots? Nobody has a question about square roots? Okay.
Are they going to have to, I have a question, like if you have square root of 70, I guess if it's not on here, they don't have to take it farther than that, like 5 to
Well, 70 has no two numbers that when you multiply them together gives you a perfect square. Like if you had, for example, 32, you would have to simplify that to the square root of 2 times 16, where 16 is a perfect square, you'd have 4 square root 2.
Would it be something like that in the exam?
I don't remember if you have it. I changed the problems. You don't have it on your email? I sent it to you.
But I can't access I have it on the map. I can't access that with this.
That's ridiculous. Okay. Y equals x squared minus 1. So, ladies and gentlemen, we know this is going to look like a U. And we've got 4 graphs here that looks like a U. So can I eliminate 2 problems right off the bat from number 36? And which 2 could I eliminate? How do you know if it's a smile or a frown? How do you know if the graph is a smile or frown? Yes.
It's positive or negative.
If it's positive or negative, and which one is this? Look at it again. Positive. It's in front of the x squared. If the x squared is positive, it's a smile. If the x squared is negative, then it's a frown. So we know it can't be C or D, right? Okay, so here's my question now. What information would be good for you to know to be able to figure out if it's A or B? You might want to know the vertex. Okay. So those steps right there on the board, those 7 steps on how to graph quadratic equations are important. First, I'm going to label A, B, and C. A is 1, B is 0, C is negative 1. Then I'm quickly going to find the axis of symmetry, which is negative B over 2A. So that's negative 0 over 2 times 1, which gives me 0. Then I'm going to plug that into my original equation. So y equals 0 squared minus 1. So y equals negative 1. So which graph has a vertex of 0, negative 1? B. So that's how we found B. Okay, let's turn it over and look at 37. Okay, so these are harder to eliminate because they're all frowny faces. So we better find our vertex and figure out which one has that vertex. So the first thing I'm going to do is label my A, B, and C. A is negative 1, B is negative 3, and C is negative 4. Now what do? I've labeled them. What's my next step? Guys, the steps are on the board. After I label it, what do? Plug it into negative B over 2A. You should have this on your cheat sheet. Say, I use this using graphing quadratic equations. So I have minus and negative 3 over 2 times the negative 1. So I get 3 over negative 2, which is the same as negative 1 1/2. Now I take that and I'm going to plug it into my original equation. I'm going to change it to negative 1.5 because it's the same thing. Okay, I need somebody to put that in their calculator exactly and tell me what their answer is. You have to have these parentheses in the correct spot or you're not going to get the right answer. You have to have those parentheses in the correct spot or you're not going to get the right answer. Does anybody with a calculator, you should probably be practicing this because I think that was the biggest problem on these quizzes was that you guys put it in the calculator incorrectly. What'd you guys get? Negative 1.75. Okay. So which one is negative 1 1/2 and negative 1.75? A, B, C, or D? Okay. A, everything is positive. The vertex and the axis of symmetry are positive, so it can't be A. B, it goes the wrong way for the x. C is our answer. Any questions about graphing before I move on? Yes, Jasmine. If you've got these steps down and know how to use these steps, you should be good, okay? So one of the reasons I'm giving you homework tonight on page 557 is because you can write these steps down and use it to try to solve those answers, and we'll go over the answers to them on Monday, okay? So if you're worried about graphing, I know a lot of people had a hard time with the graphing part of quadratic equations. You've got to practice those tonight or tomorrow or whatever.
You really won't miss a beat. You have to write those steps down. In fact, try to write them down before you do your homework.
You need to have them written down, and you need to know how to use them. Okay? All right, I'm going to move on to the quadratic equation, as long as everybody's ready. Okay, the quadratic equation is something else you should have written down on your cheat sheet. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
Someone put that down in your cheat sheet right now. Give us quadratic equation. Put it down.
Okay. For quadratic equation, we've got number 38. X squared equals 2x plus 4. Is this in standard form? No. All the x's, everything has to be on one side and 0 has to be on the other. So I'm going to say x squared minus 2x minus 4 equals 0. That is now in standard form. What should I be doing next? Labeling A, B, and C. A equals 1, B equals negative 2, and C equals negative 4. Then we're just going to plug it in. So I'm writing minus a negative 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 2 squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. Okay? Now I'm going to do what's underneath the square root sign first. You can just plug that in your calculator. 16 times 18, 20. I get minus a negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 20 all over 2 times 1. Anybody that plugged that in their calculator get a different answer than the square root of 20? Okay. What's a negative times a negative? So we get 2 plus or minus the square root of 20 all over 2. Okay. Is there two numbers that multiply to give me the square root of 20 where one of them is a perfect square? 1 and 20, nope. 2 and 10, 3 doesn't go in there evenly. How about 4 and 5? 4 is a perfect square. So I get 2 plus or minus, oops, I don't know why I wrote 2 there. 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 times 5 over 2. I know that the square root of 4 is 2, so I get 2 plus or minus 2 square root 5 over 2. Then I'm going to divide both of these by 2, and I'm going to get 1 plus or minus the square root of 5, or 1 plus square root of 5, 1 minus square root of 5. Okay? So which answer is that? A, B, C, or D? D. We ready to do 39?
Remember when you do your homework? I had a couple people ask on the prior homework. I don't remember how to do it. Turn back, because where it gives you examples in that chapter on how to do it. Kind of walks you step by step. So make sure you turn back in your chapter.
And numbers, 30 through 40 that I'm doing right now are problems like your homework too. So you can use this as an example as well. All right, I'm going to do 39. X squared plus 6x plus 4 equals 0. Is this in standard form, yes or no?
Hang on, I'm just wondering, does everyone have 39 in their paper? Who's have 39? Everyone else has 39? Okay, well, it's weird. He has 40. Let's write it down. Just write it down.
There you go. Staple backers. Okay. A equals 1, B equals 6, and C equals 4. Okay. Then we have minus B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Put what's underneath the parentheses in your calculator. 36 minus